Welcome back to the news at 10. 7 Korean nationals have been deported for life by the authorities of the Nigeria Immigration Service, but their offence has not been made public. The Immigration Public Relations Officer confirmed that the extradition was done in the interest of the public. The Koreans were deported to their country on the orders of the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, and are never to return to Nigeria. Meanwhile, 2 suspects on the watch list of the security agencies in Ogun State have been arrested for allegedly trafficking migrants illegally into the country. The Comptroller of Immigration in the state, Mrs. Doris Brimer, says the suspects were arrested while trying to smuggle 4 Malians and 2 Guineans, including 2 minors, through the Idiroku borders. She explains that the 2 suspects will be arraigned while the 6 foreign nationals will be repatriated to their countries. The governor of Ekiti State has been going round communities in the state to get the people's input into the 2020 budgetary process. He says this move is to ensure that development is in line with the needs and priorities of all communities in the state.
Governor Kayode Fayemi makes his way to the town hall where traditional rulers, representatives of various communities have gathered for the 2020 budget preparation engagement. This will take place across the 3 senatorial districts in the state. The community representatives and royal fathers believe this pattern adopted by the governor is the best approach to accommodating the most pressing needs of the state in the next budget.
It's a way of bridging the gap between the community and the government. And I think the specific objective of the government is to know our need. And this is a forum by which that can be discussed. And I think that is what we have done.
He provided so many things in the palaces, but when he came back, he could see that those things have not finished. So he has to support us to make sure he see the end of it, to make sure all those that he has, given to others, communities, are well organized.
Governor Fayemi wants development meant for the people to reflect their needs and yearnings. He promises the budget will meet the demands made by the people.
Of course, within the limits of the resources available to us, we would endeavor to meet all their expectations, particularly on the immediate challenges: erosion management, lack of electricity, water supply, bad roads, because we have a whole range of initiatives coming on stream in the state. So really, there is a lot of goodies coming on stream for our people, and there's no reason for them to be despondent that government is not listening to what they're yearning for. This is evidence that we are focusing primarily on what they want. It is not what we think they want. We don't want to do development to them. We want to do development with our people, and that's what has brought me out here.
Residents of Ekiti State will expect to see effective implementation in order for them to feel the impact of the 2020 budget.
Nigeria is joining the ranks of other nations where trade and investment are assuming a global dimension. Now, this is being made possible by Chaka, a Nigeria-owned global investment platform, which has launched services for Nigerians to trade in international blue-chip companies.
The world has indeed become a global village, especially in the spaces of communication over the internet and mobile devices.
New ways to protect.
The management of Shaka is set to make the village even smaller.
Don't go up and down.
It is introducing a digital solution that enables Nigerians to buy into markets of blue-chip companies across other continents.
It's not fair, Nigerians, Africans more generally, that we don't have the same access around the world to wealth building, to taking advantage of opportunities that people from other places, other countries, other continents have.
They over there will be also opportune to look into our market. So it's dual window.
Shaka boasts over 4,000 assets and access to companies in more than 40 countries. Even a first-time investor can engage, diversify, and not be tied to any one market.
You can call us, you can email us and say, I don't know what to do, I want to invest. What should I do? And we'll just give you a summarized curatorial guide so that you can get started. A lot about getting invested is just knowing how to get started, knowing the right places to go on the information side. And then when it comes to you want to now make a decision and you want to now make an investment, again, we make it very easy for you to get started.
These are tested people. Most of those who are behind Chaka are people who have been in foreign markets.
Many would assume transactions must be made in dollars, which are insured to the tune of 500,000. But the CEO says Naira denominations are just as good in Nigeria. Shaka assures would-be players in the sector that its investments in Nigeria and abroad are regulated by local and foreign bodies.
Despite efforts by the Central Bank of Nigeria and other financial service providers towards reducing the number of Nigerians excluded, there are still concerns about the slow pace in achieving financial inclusion. But experts believe that leveraging on innovation and appropriate technology could accelerate the process. This was the focus of the third series of the First Bank FinTech Summit in Lagos.
Participants at the First Bank FinTech Summit cut across players in the financial service sector and technology value chain. The annual event is made possible by First Bank in its capacity to continue to harness knowledge and technology to solve hitches in the financial ecosystem.
We don't have too much of legacy technology, so we can almost move from ground zero to whatever floor we want to meet. And those are the kind of solutions we want to look at today. And that is where the team, banking plus technology, it speaks about that admixture of banking and technology. How do we begin to use financial technology to satisfy and deliver good standard of customer experience, good standard of financial product to our customers?
The guest speaker, Victor Asemota, founder of Swiftercore, takes the audience through insights on ending the deficit narrative of financial inclusion with human-centered innovation.
The job here for both fintech and banking is to actually look at what people really do, find out what they really need, and provide them with services to actually solve their problems.
From everybody. And
the summit also features breakout sessions where industry leaders engage participants on key opportunities within the financial services space.
The fintech space today is largely dominated by the youth. And part of what we need to do as a country is begin to harness these capabilities that our youths are building. That way, we begin to position the country among those countries that are in the forefront of pushing youth empowerment, youth employment, and begin to address poverty.
Organizers say over 2,000 people registered for this summit, meaning SMEs and fintech can network and connect with platforms that will indeed help their businesses to grow.
All right, for a bit more business news, here's Anne Wilder.
You first. First Bank.
Thank you, Ijoma. Welcome to Business News. We begin tonight with the International Monetary Fund asking Nigeria to improve its tax revenue so as to accommodate its interest in debt payment, which now stands at an average of 2 trillion naira annually. An assistant director at the International Monetary Fund, Ms. Kathy Patilo, suggests that a quick reform in the nation's tax revenue will help address the nation's infrastructural challenges. She also explains that with the nation's rising population, it has now become expedient to fix the education and the health sectors.
Issues bordering on the nation's debt profile has been on the front burner of most national discourse. While the federal government owes a total of 20 trillion naira as of June 2019, the 36 states and the FCT have a debt portfolio of 5 trillion naira. But the minister says there's no cause for alarm. At this meeting, organized by the International Monetary Fund, which monitors the fiscal compliance of economies globally, officials highlight what Nigeria should be doing to improve non-oil revenue to meet its interest in debt repayment.
Right now, interest payments as a share of tax are very, very high, around a third for overall and 2/3 for the federal government. That's not because interest payments are particularly high, it's because the denominator is incredibly low. Nigeria has one of the lowest tax ratios in the world. Nigeria also will have a lot of needs then for education and health spending. It has some very low indicators in that area.
Public debt and interest to tax ratios are high and rising. Therefore, we advise policymakers to follow prudent fiscal policies anchored by a medium-term framework.
At a separate briefing which highlights global financial stability, central banks across the globe are advised on how to ensure sound banking sector reforms.
Policymakers need to take urgent action to mitigate financial stability risks. They should deploy and develop, as needed, new macroprudential tools for non-bank financial firms to mitigate vulnerabilities highlighted in this report. They should address corporate vulnerabilities with stricter supervisory and macroprudential oversight, including the creation of targeted stress testing of banks and the development of prudential tools for highly leveraged firms, which can help restrain debt at risk.
The recommendation at both sessions focus on structural reforms, improving transparency and accountability, and investment in infrastructure. When implemented, this will translate to improved welfare for the people.
Let's head to the equities market, which sustained bearish sentiment for a second consecutive session this week, as total volume of shares transactions dropped by 20.61% at the close of midweek trading. Let's join Teniola Shubawale for the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Another 22 billion naira is lost to sell pressure on the NSE today, as the market's main index fell by the same 0.16% margin recorded in Tuesday's session. The second day of loss within the week is attributed to profit taken from the telecoms giant MTN Nigeria, which fell by 0.39%, while Lafarge Africa's 4.06% price drop led to the downturn on the industrial goods counter. However, the 1.31% gain from GT Bank lifted the banking sector despite losses from its contemporaries, as investors reacted positively to its relatively good 9 months financial performance. Meanwhile, Law Union is top among 13 gainers, up by 9.09%. WAPIC led 10 other losers, down 8.57%, while the trio of Access, Global Spectrum and Zenith Bank are major contributors to more than 138 million shares traded today. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Teniola Shubawale.
Thank you, Teniola. Mixed sentiments dominated performance of major global stock markets today, as weak retail sales offset strong earnings on Wall Street, while investors are still waiting for the imminent Brexit deal between the United Kingdom and the European Union. Let's see the closing figures for today. And that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Joma.
You First. First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, Turkish president vows to continue offensive in Syria until his mission to create a safe zone is accomplished. This and more from our London Bureau and around the world.